So a single movie review basically just set the internet on fire. But here's the thing. The real story isn't about the movie. It's about the critic. And this whole controversy is forcing everyone to ask a pretty fundamental question. What is a film critic's job anyway? Let's just get right to it. This is the big question at the heart of the whole debate. If a professional critic literally walks out of a movie before it's over, should their review even count? I mean, is their opinion still valid? It sounds simple, but trust me, this question has basically split the entire film world in two. All right, so who are we talking about here? The person right in the middle of this storm is Grace Randolph. You probably know her from her super popular YouTube channel, Beyond the Trailer. Now, the key thing to remember is that she's an official critic on Rotten Tomatoes, and yep, it was one of her reviews on that very platform that got everybody talking. And there it is, the sentence that started it all. In her actual official review, she wrote, quote, "So yeah, I walked out 2/3 into the movie. I just couldn't take it anymore." I mean, wow. This wasn't some back-channel rumor. She put it right there for everyone to see. And that was like tossing a match into a bucket of gasoline. Well, as you can imagine, the reaction was fast, and it was not friendly. A lot of her fellow critics and commentators were just furious. People were calling it complete BS, saying her review should be taken down entirely. Some even argued what she did was so unprofessional it could actually get you kicked out of critics' associations. So yeah, we're not talking about a polite disagreement here. People were seriously upset. Okay, so let's break down that backlash. Why were people so angry? It really all comes down to this first big argument, the idea of professional duty. The belief that finishing a film isn't just a suggestion for a critic, it's their job. This quote pretty much sums up that whole feeling, right? The thinking here is, look, being a critic is a profession. You're being recognized to do a specific task, and that task requires you to see a work from beginning to end to give a fair and complete assessment. It's not about whether you're having a good time, it's about fulfilling your professional obligation. And here's the perfect example of why this matters so much in practice. Let's call it the third act twist problem. So picture this. You're watching a movie, and for the first hour, you absolutely hate it. So you get up and leave. But what you miss is that the last 20 minutes completely flips the entire story on its head. I mean, think about a movie like The Sixth Sense. If you walk out early, your review isn't just incomplete, it's flat out wrong. You've missed the entire point. So when you boil it all down, this side of the argument is really about one core idea: professional integrity. It's the belief that, hey, this is a profession and it has standards. And maybe the most basic standard of all is that you have to actually experience the whole piece of art you're supposed to be evaluating. But, like any good story, there are two sides. So now let's flip the scripts and look at the defense for walking out. In this argument, it's all about authentic, honest reaction. The people on this side say, hold on a second. We're not scientists here, right? When you read a review, you're not looking for a lab report on filmmaking. You're looking for a relatable, human impression. And what's a more powerful impression than, this movie was so bad I literally could not stand my seat? For someone trying to decide how to spend their $20, that's actually incredibly valuable information. So this really lays out the two different schools of thought, the two warring philosophies at play here. In one corner, you've got the critic's job as a duty, this almost scientific process to analyze art from start to finish. And in the other corner, you have the critic's value, which is all about giving you an authentic gut reaction to help you decide what's worth your time and money. Now here's where things get kind of tricky and really, really interesting. Some people argued that her big mistake wasn't even walking out. It was openly admitting it in the review. But then a whole other group of people said, no, that's exactly what she did right. Because she was totally transparent. She told you up front, hey, just so you know, I didn't see the end. That lets you, the reader, decide for yourself how much weight to give her opinion. It's an act of honesty, and for some, that's respectable. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the philosophy of it all, the ethics of it all, but let's get practical for a second. Let's talk about the actual impact here. Did this one review really even move the needle on the movie's overall rating? You have to remember how a site like Rotten Tomatoes actually works. We're not talking about just a handful of opinions. A film's final tomato meter score is an average, based on the scores of over 100 critics, sometimes several hundred. It's a huge pool of voices. So what does that mean in the real world? Well, when you just look at the math, the reality is that one single review from a critic who isn't in that special top critic category, it barely makes a dent. Statistically, it's like a drop in the ocean. One bad score, even one from a walkout, isn't going to tank a movie's final rating. Look, this whole firestorm might have started with one person and one review, but it's really about something much, much bigger. It forces all of us to step back and ask a huge question about what we even want from critics in the first place. And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? What is a critic's ultimate duty? Is it to be an objective analyst, someone who dissects a piece of art in its entirety? Or is their job to be a trusted guide, someone who reflects the real-world experience of an audience member, who absolutely can, and sometimes does, walk out? There's no easy answer, and where you land on that question, well, that probably determines everything.